Bo, I'm looking at this rundown right now. I gotta be honest, pretty excited for the show. OSU
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
hasn't been here a few weeks. I'm a little upset at Mike, though, because he's faking being asleep, acting like he's been here for 3 weeks.
I don't understand why we talk about this before the show if we're not going to run with it. I was going to make a joke that I was asleep for a while because we haven't had a show in 3 weeks because we're going to talk about that a lot. No. I don't want to hear you talk, okay? Why do we discuss? Can we just roll it? I want to go. I want to get this over with now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Oswego Sports Update. Go on camera two. Camera two. Hey, guess who's back again? We are. Good evening, folks, and welcome back to Oswego Sports Update. We took a little bit of a break, but we're back now. We're here to stay, we promise, until the end of the semester, and then we're going on Christmas break, and the holiday season is literally upon us. Play the Mariah Carey music as soon as you can. I'm James Gattato, alongside me, Bo Drake Deese, Mike Morano. We got a great show for you tonight, as always, and we won't waste any more time because we know you have that precious time and you've missed all of our lukewarm takes. Let's start things right off. This past weekend, the Oswego State men's ice hockey team, well, they had a bit of a rocky road, gentlemen. I'm not talking about the ice cream. They traveled to Geneseo to take on a number 2 to number 3 matchup against those Knights. The Lakers were 4-0 to start the season and were playing some pretty great hockey going into away territory, but they may have left their game on the bus. Oswego lost to Geneseo 9-1. That's not a typo, boys. It was a blowout win for the Knights, who only improved their case as an elite team in Division III hockey, even without goaltender Devin McDonald, who graduated. Bo, what went wrong for the Lakers? A lot of it, but what went wrong?
Literally everything. I mean, if you go ahead and look at the score, 9-1, and you've got about 7 of those goals coming off of power play. So obviously there was no PK for the Lakers whatsoever. So I think as far as defense is concerned, it was atrocious. And just the fact that there was 9 power plays in total shows that the Lakers haven't really gotten over their discipline woes, shall we call them?
Yeah, 7 for 12 that Geneseo was, and that's something that the Lakers have been kind of trying to fix the whole. They spent all this season trying to fix the discipline, trying to fix their power play scenario, which they did score a power play goal on. Congratulations, that's 1 goal in a 9-1 loss, I guess. But I'm just saying, this is just something that they need to fix, and all the flaws kind of came out again.
And I would like to attribute this loss to the fact that they played Brockport the night before, and then they have to hit the road, travel to Geneseo. Obviously, it's a tough game. Brockport, a tough game, too, but they win at 4-1. Brockport receiving votes to be a nationally ranked team in Division III. Mike, was the back-to-back to blame for this or not?
I think that the 88 minutes worth of penalties is to blame here. I think they're trained enough that they could play back-to-back games, meaningful games, and be quite effective in it. I think that they spent all this time trying to fix the flaws that they had in Brockport, and they came out of that game with even more questions than they did before going in. So the discipline is now at an all-time high. David Riche gave up 7 goals. That's always a question now you want to bring up as well. So I don't think that's back-to-back makes any difference now because they've done it before. This is basically really the same team that they've had. So I don't think so. And now going into Hobart, it's a lot of questions.
So I guess, Bo, the biggest question for me with this Lakers squad, where do they go from here?
Well, really, the only place they have to go from this loss is up. Because if you think about it, it doesn't really get much worse than a 9-1 loss to a team that you can compete with. The Lakers have the potential to be the best team in the SUNYAC, and probably, I would say they have the potential to be very well ranked nationally. And I think what they really have to do is that Gosick really needs to kick them in the butt and say that, hey, we need to get our heads in the game and we need to make sure that we're playing smart.
Yeah, and Mike, this is smart playing, obviously. This loss clearly hurts them in terms of the SUNYAC picture, though. How does this affect their chances at a SUNYAC crown? Because, let's be honest here, the way that Geneseo just literally handled Oswego so well, it doesn't look like they're going to lose for the rest of the season in the SUNYAC.
I think it's about how you come back from this. I think a team is only as good as how they bounce back, how they adapt. So you had a tough loss against Geneseo, a really bad loss, 9-1. So it's really about these seasons are made by how you could adapt. How can you can't dwell on this. That's just how it is. And if you let that dwell, that's just going to set the tempo for the rest of the season. It's how you bounce back. You got a lot of games coming up that you could compete, that you will compete in. Okay, so I don't see a reason why they can't bounce back and start again and just start again. They host Geneseo soon again, so let that just be the case. Let that do that again.
Well, in terms of bouncing back, we tease our game of the week here. You made a nice transition, Michael.
You're welcome.
The hockey team, they will travel to Geneva to play the Hobart Statesmen for the first time since they were knocked out by the Statesmen in the NCAA tournament on home ice. It's going to be a really tough stretch of games for the Lakers coming up here, Mike. They play Utica, Solvay, Regina, Plymouth State, the possibility of playing them in the Utica Invitational. Do you think they bounce back from the Geneseo loss, and do they beat Hobart, or do they go 0-2 in their last two?
Well, looking at the history, it would seem like Oswego would be able to beat Hobart with ease, but again, that just hasn't been the case. Right now, Oswego is 35-5 against Hobart in their history, but again, they struggled against Brockport last game, and they've dominated Brockport tremendously. So now, after that shaky first period, it could mean something different here. So against Hobart, Hobart takes a lot of shots. Hobart has scored 31 goals. They've only let up 12. They're a high-scoring team, about 5 goals a game. So, and that's the same thing as the Lakers. Lakers, again, are a high-scoring team. They take a lot of shots as well. So I like this matchup a lot. I think it's going to be very different. I think the Lakers, again, have another chip on their shoulder. They had one against Geneseo, and that didn't turn out very well. So going against Hobart, maybe this is where they could turn a new leaf. If that could be a statement win, that could, again, boost the confidence again. It could be a roller coaster, and that's fine as long as you get the wins at the end of the game.
Bo, quick prediction.
Yeah, I think that Oswego has the biggest opportunity to bounce back here, and I think they will. I think it'll be close, but I think they'll create the bounce back.
Well, we'll see what happens. Obviously, that game this Saturday, 7 p.m. in Geneva, in Hobart. We'll see how the Lakers can bounce back. But when we come back, should the Dolphins still tank for Tua Tagovailoa? And will the Heat be able to sustain their hot start? Stay heated up, if we shall say. Find it all out when we come back. Headline Hits is next on OSU. Don't go anywhere.
He said heating up.
Hey y'all, welcome back to OSU. Dion Waiters has made some headlines in the media, but not exactly for the right reasons. After taking edibles on the team plane and having a seizure, the 27-year-old was suspended by Miami for 10 games. And in the newfound free time he had, he flew back to Syracuse, the alma mater where it all started for him, and attended the Orange's game against the University of Seattle. Now, the Orange won the game, but that wasn't the entire reason why he was there. He said he did it for the advice from his former Cuse coach, Jim Boeheim, and so that he could get some love from the home Orange crowd, and he did. Mike, do you think going to Syracuse will help Waiters, or it's all just a waste of time?
Well, anything's going to help now. He hit rock bottom, really. So doing whatever it takes, this is something he said that, he felt confident in Jim Boeheim. He knew that Jim Boeheim was going to be able to give him advice, and now Dion Waiters, being an experienced NBA vet and not being an 18 or 19-year-old kid who may not be wanting to take advice because he's just itching to get to the next league. Now he's seen it. Now he could, take that advice and actually, take some advice from it. I don't know what I'm saying, but so, and then, it's with the crowd love too. Now, since he's been hearing a lot of hate now, going back to Syracuse, maybe he can kind of get that love back. Maybe he can kind of get, maybe like, oh, some people are now behind my back now. I could actually do this. So I think it'd be nice for him. I think it was a nice gesture, and it shows that he cares as well.
I don't think that it shows that he cares. Honestly, I feel like
I'm trying to be nice here, Bo.
I know you're trying to be nice,
And
but
you
I'm not.
shut me down.
I'm not feeling very nice right now. I feel like he's doing this so that he can kind of get back and get the love and all the adulation and get showered
What's wrong
with
getting
the
a little
applause.
affection?
He plays.
I like affection. I said it on live TV.
He plays.
I like affection.
He plays in the NBA. He gets paid millions of dollars, and he's been acting crazy. He needs to relax, okay?
And that's what he realized. And now he's going back. He wants advice.
Bo's
He
not
wants
in the
advice from a
Christmas
coach that he
spirit.
enjoys. I like affection.
Bo's not in the Christmas spirit.
No, I'm
well,
not.
hopefully Dion figures his stuff out and gets back to the team to perform soon. But if he doesn't, it seems like the Heat will be okay. After a 9-3 start to the season, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, and Kendrick Nunn, and yes, 2 of those 3 players are rookies, they're leading and they're proving up to this point that the Heat have the potential to be an elite Eastern Conference powerhouse team. Bo, do you buy the hot start from Miami, or is this going to die down as this season progresses?
I do not buy the hot start. These are
Their team
children.
is literally the Heat.
As much as I love Tyler Hero, he's actually one of my favorite players and the way he plays. He's not going to be able to sustain this when things start to ramp up in the NBA season. Even through the regular season, I mean, the season is still very, very young. So, while this is great to see, I think it's very impressive that the Miami Heat are able to do this with so many young players. I don't see this as being a trend for them throughout the entirety of the season. Maybe they'll make the 8th seed, but that's a maybe.
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 Oof. I mean, I don't know. I like the Jimmy Butler addition. I feel like he has an effect on these guys. You know, as Jimmy Butler is out in the gym at 3 in the morning, and then the next week the other guys are in there too. I think I like what he's doing with this team. I like the kind of tempo that they're setting here. You know, post D Wade era. They have to try to find themselves a little bit. I think Jimmy Butler kind of fits the personality, at least, that gives his team a voice and it lets the athletes kind of be comfortable.
Let's be real. This is post LeBron era, not post D Wade era.
Stop it now. Stop it.
They were doing nothing when D Wade was on the team.
I will
crazy.
Wow. I cannot believe the words I just heard.
Post LeBron era.
Post LeBron era. I guess. Speaking of the post LeBron era, though, this is the first time that the Heat have had such a great record through 11 or 12 games since that Heatles era when they had the 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, that team with Bosh, LeBron, and Wade. So we'll see how this group can do. Sticking with Miami news, owner of the Miami Marlins, Derek Jeter, is among 18 newcomers on the 2020 Hall of Fame ballot for Major League Baseball. Jeter is a 14-time All-Star and a 5-time World Series champion, while also having collected 3,465 hits in 20 seasons. Quite the resume for the captain. He is likely to be an overwhelming choice to join former New York Yankees teammate Mariano Rivera in Cooperstown. The question is, could he follow in his teammates' footsteps and be another Hall of Famer unanimously, the second one to ever do it? Not even Ken Griffey could do it.
Yeah, I think he'll get it because I think it fits the nice, heartwarming narrative that him and his buddy Mariano Rivera can go into the Hall of Fame together in unanimous vote and all that. It's nice, and he does fit the resume here. But if we're going on post-MLB career here, and we're going about how he manages a team, he should be nowhere near Cooperstown. He should be actually locked out of Cooperstown the way he is handling the Miami Marlins. But if you go back to his playing career, yes, it fits that narrative. It's heartwarming, nice, 14-time All-Star, 5-time champion. That's great and all. But if we're looking at a Miami Marlins Derek Jeter, please don't go anywhere near Cooperstown. Please.
Well, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. Jeter, obviously a legend in the Bronx, and he will always be remembered for his play on shortstop, obviously one of the best shortstop to ever play the game. The Orlando Magic traded for the former #1 overall pick, Markelle Fultz, in hopes that they can try to revive his career that once had all the hype in the world. Obviously coming out of Washington, he was fantastic. Now playing healthy from recovering from a chronic shoulder injury, Fultz has put up better numbers in Orlando so far, averaging 10.5 points, 1.3 steals, and shooting for almost 50% with slow but sure progress coming from Fultz, Bo. Will the 76ers ever regret being impatient and trading him away without giving him a chance to prove himself?
Did you say impatient?
They were impatient.
Did you say
relatively impatient?
What are you talking about? They drafted him with the first overall pick in the 2017 NBA draft. It is.
Well, you have to remember that they're drafting guys when they're 18. They're not going to be ready right off the bat. They're not older than LeBron James.
Not being ready is one thing, but not even playing at all with question marks all over the reason you're not playing is another thing. It is almost 2020. He has not done anything so far. Not to mention the fact
Look at that dunk ball. You're going to tell me?
He's only averaging 3 assists a game, and he's a point guard.
He's getting less minutes right now because he's slowly coming back into that.
I get that he's slowly coming back, but we shouldn't be focused on his points. If he wants to come back and make a statement, he's not going to be this scoring terror of the game. He has to be the assist maker and the floor general.
You go crazy.
You know, we'll see how Marco comes back. He did hit multiple threes last night, so we'll see if that shoulder does get better as the season progresses. He can help the Magic make a playoff push. When we come back, we got Talk of the Town, and guess what? We're not leaving Florida. Talk of the Town, Miami edition. We'll get it popping after the break. Stay tuned. And welcome back to OSU. Talk of the Town, the Miami Dolphins are, to put it quite honestly, not playing well this season. But they're getting better, Mike.
Terrible.
With a record of 2-8, they still need to make some improvements, one of them being at quarterback. Now, there's been a decent idea of who the Finns have wanted all year to helm the team next year, and it's Alabama's Tua Tagovailoa. However, with this recent hip injury that's put him out for the rest of the season in Bama, those hopes could be dwindling. Mike, with this injury, where does this put him in the draft order this year?
It's tough because this is where, even with Tua still playing, there was still word that maybe Joe Burrow makes an appearance now. You know, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts even. So, I mean, there's a lot of talent, and now him being injured, he's obviously not going to be the #1 overall pick. We know that now. You know, no matter how good he was playing, there are going to be quarterbacks that are going to be playing the rest of the season. They're going to show their worth, and they're going to see what they can do in these type of situations. So, I don't know where he comes in this. It's tough to say. I think he might still be a first-round pick, but late. That's what I'm kind of going with now because a lot of teams don't want to make that risk on Tua now. He got injured. You don't want to make that risk because if he sets you guys back, that's just another couple of years that you would wish you contend with.
Yeah, I have to say, I honestly feel that it would probably be more to his benefit to not enter the draft this year. I think that if you get back and you take your time to get healthy and then you kind of rebuild your resume, I think it's going to be easier for you to find your place in the NFL.
And I got to ask, you do talk about the possibility of returning to Alabama. Percentage-wise, I guess, give me a percentage, boys. How likely is it that he goes back to Alabama?
75%.
Why?
75%? I was going to throw like 60.
60? No, I think it's a lot more. He goes back to Alabama for a couple of reasons. One, why are you going to rush yourself from an injury and go on a team that needs you and needs you to perform right off the bat, and you don't perform, and now you're a bust, and now that narrative's on you, that pressure's on you. If he goes back to Alabama, he has time to heal up. There's going to be that pressure of wanting to perform again and wanting to perform at a high level. But college now, you can kind of work out the kinks, you can kind of work out all the flaws you had, and then you're ready for the bright lights. I know it's kind of hard to kind of get into this. It's kind of hard to kind of move back in the NFL, but you got to think smart here. And if you're not performing at your 100%, teams are not going to want you.
Yeah, I mean, focusing in on the Dolphins here, and obviously we see that Tua injury, it's not pretty. We see that Tua injury, and then we relate it back to the Dolphins, that whole tank for Tua campaign this entire season for Miami. Would the Dolphins still be interested, or, Bo, do you think they look to find a new QB, and if so, who is the leading candidate?
Well, I think that Miami just has to figure something out. Honestly, I think that one of the things that's been really tough about this whole thing is that when we rolled into the season and they started off decent, it was like really hard for us to say, they were looking okay. They might run the pack a little bit, but not do too much. But now it's just horrible. So I think that you want to look at him, but at the same time, you got to start shopping around the rest of the league.
Okay, so I would have to ask you, in terms of Tua Tagovailoa and not making possibly not making the Dolphins roster, where does Josh Rosen fit into all of this?
I feel so bad for Josh Rosen. It is actually insane. He wasn't wanted in Arizona because of a new upcoming QB. Now it's about the same scenario now when you're in the Dolphins. Same scenario. Now Tua, maybe not even Tua, maybe Joe Burrows, but the Dolphins got to stop winning games if they want a quarterback like that. And now Josh Rosen's kind of in this mix where it's like, where do I come in? It seems like he's been disrespected a lot. And starting Ryan Fitzpatrick for the last couple of games here or the rest of the season just does not help his cause. I don't understand why the Dolphins, who have nothing to lose, don't start Rosen, but they want to start a Ryan Fitzpatrick who is going to perform well, get a really nice contract, do terrible, cycle starts again.
Yeah, I think it makes no sense. The Dolphins make no sense to me. I think at this point you just got to start experimenting. Switch things up, give people a shot.
That's what the Redskins are doing with Dwayne Haskins. They have nothing to lose, so now why don't you just ride out instead of Case Keenum? Why don't you just ride out with Dwayne Haskins? Because the guy that you drafted in the first round, the Cardinals, who traded draft picks for Josh Rosen, I just don't understand why they want to start an aging Fitzpatrick who could be that mentor, who could be that guy to help Rosen instead of taking all the way to the spotlight. Fitzpatrick has nothing else to prove. We know what we could do. Rosen is a lot more of an interesting player because now, if he performs well on the Dolphins, they have a young QB that had all the hype in the world, but just wasn't given the proper chance. Same thing in Arizona. Now it's the same deal in Miami. And now, if he keeps getting buried like this, we're going to see him be a backup QB who is just going to be constantly just being on different teams every year, and that he's not going to prove himself.
So I guess the last thing I'll ask, and then we'll go to break. If Tua isn't picked up, by worst case scenario for the Dolphins, you don't pick up Tua and something happens with Rosen. You don't pick up a quarterback in the draft. What position is most sought after for this Dolphins team? What do you do if you're the Dolphins and you don't get a quarterback?
If you have to go with Rosen, you got to protect Rosen. So bolster up that offensive line as much as you can, because Dwayne Haskins is doing the same thing. He's like, protect me, what do I have to do? He's screaming his offensive line. So you don't want that case with Rosen if that's what you're going with. So you got to bolster that up. A QB's only as good as how if he gets protected a lot, he's going to perform well.
Yeah, I completely agree. If you get that asset and that asset can perform, you have to protect that asset, and it's as simple as that.
Well, sticking on the gridiron, we are going to talk about football a little bit more. Well, I will at least when we come back from break. It's kind of a little bit of a controversial topic, but I will be giving my take on the entire Colin Kaepernick public workout situation. All of that and more next after the break. Stay tuned. So here we are. I contemplated even talking about this topic because the media has basically touched on it an infinite amount of times, and the topic itself is pretty worn out and controversial. But I'm going to do the best I can to tell you how I really feel about the whole Colin Kaepernick workout situation. So if you've lived under a rock for the past week and a half, let me get you up to speed. The NFL released a statement saying that former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Kaepernick would hold a private workout that was accessible to all teams should they choose to attend and scout him. Now for me, I was pretty excited to see what this workout had to offer. Cap is 32 years old and probably won't look the same as he did when he led the Niners to a Super Bowl appearance, but maybe he can be a competent backup quarterback, maybe even a starter eventually in the NFL and make one heck of a comeback story. But I also had a feeling that this workout was a little too good to be true. Now, to put it simply, Colin Kaepernick and the NFL have a weird relationship, and it's no secret that the league would never willingly grant a workout with teams' top scouts for someone that gave them so many issues as an activist and not as a player. So reports came out that Jay-Z, who works directly with Commissioner Roger Goodell, encouraged him to hold the workout for Cap. So after the workout was set for Saturday in the Atlanta Falcons practice facility, 24 teams ended up expressing genuine interest in Kaepernick and said they would be in attendance. All right, you have my attention. But that wasn't for him and his team. The NFL said that no media was allowed at the workout and that the NFL would record the full workout. Now, I get it. I get how his camp could question that. He could possibly see that the NFL is trying to manipulate the footage to make him look worse than he actually does. So what does he do? He moves the workout to a high school in Georgia an hour away last minute and changes the workout to a public one that wasn't sponsored by the NFL in any way, shape, or form. So instead of 24 teams, 6 show up. Was it worth it? Well, all of the footage is out there now. It's on Twitter, it's on Instagram. I got to be honest, he looks really sharp as a passer. He was throwing deep balls, throws on the run. He looked good. But his talent was never in question, and he was only throwing passes in the open field, something that an elite college-level quarterback could do. It was his antics off the field that made people scratch their heads. You can't wear questionable clothing or tell owners to not be scared into hiring you, and then go against your potential employer's terms if you want a job in the first place. If I went to a job interview and told my potential boss to not be scared and to hire me, and I wore, say I was working retail and I wore another company's clothing, that wouldn't look good for my chances for that job. So I want to wrap it up by saying this. I really like Colin Kaepernick, and I think from a talent perspective, whether it's a backup or a starter, he deserves, absolutely deserves, to be in the NFL. Trust me, there are over 60 quarterbacks on the NFL roster. He definitely deserves to be in at least one of those spots. But he's shooting himself in the foot with all of this. I understand. He will always stand up for what he believes in. And I respect him so much for that. But the refusal to abide by the NFL's rules about the workout makes it seem, at least to me, more like a PR stunt than a workout in its own. Thanks for watching. Tune in next week as we hit Boston for Talk of the Town. And we promise we'll be back next week. We promise. Thanks for watching. See you next Monday. Sleep tight and have a good night.